Hi everyone, it's me, Rudy, and I'm here again with my friend Harry Lorraine. Harry, you look great. You're in good health, I take it?
I'm okay, I mean, I could be better, but I'm doing the best I can.
You're above ground, as they say. I love that.
Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
you've lived such a long life, and I'd personally like to know, is there some sort of secret to your longevity? What is it that you do? You eat? You're not like it's not like you are a vegetarian or anything like that. I mean, you eat whatever.
No, I don't know. Uh, I had a brother. He died many years ago, at much a younger age than me. My father died when he was 42.
Wow.
So I don't know. My
Hmm.
mother lived, according to the death certificate I have, she was 92.
Wow. So she
That
was.
was my mother. My father died at a very young age. So, I don't know how to answer the question. I'm not a health nut. I don't, I'm not careful about what I eat. I never was all my life. So I'm knocking wood mentally. I don't know.
You smoked? You drank?
Oh God. I started when I was 8 years old.
Oh my gosh. You
I
started.
think I told you that 8 years, I used to follow an older guy with my color hair who was smoking.
Mhm.
And I followed him till he threw the butt away. And then I would pick it up and smoke it.
Gosh.
Oh,
Holy.
and then what? Before I stopped, Rudy, I was smoking 4 or 5 packs a day.
Oh my
I
gosh.
used to tell time by cigarettes. If somebody said, Harry, can you do this? How long will it take? I'd say, oh, 3 cigarettes. I used to tell time by cigarettes. I used to go to the Virgin Islands. We went there anyway on vacation, but one of the main reasons I went, the cigarettes were much cheaper. I
Oh,
used to buy cartons of Marlboro for $1.50 for the carton, not for a pack.
wow.
So I used to order like 20 cartons that I schlepped home.
Holy cow.
So, you know, Rudy, talking about bad turning to good, I think I've told you this. I've written it many years ago. I had a tumor on my bladder. I won't tell you how I knew it, but I got ill. Long story short, catheters and all these things in a hospital. And when I was leaving, fortunately, it was benign.
Okay.
And when I was leaving, the doctor who became a personal friend said, Harry, I got to tell you that there's a 50% chance that this could come back. And I said, how can I better those odds? And he said, stop smoking, because smoking has something to do with it. And from that moment on, I never had another puff. People yell about how difficult it is to smoke, and like I told you, I was a 4 or 5 pack a day man for decades, and I never had a puff after. It was difficult. My hand kept going to this pocket where I used to keep the cigarettes in the lighter, And you know what helped me? Again, I'm good with visualization. When my hand went there with that great urge for a cigarette, I visualized a catheter, and
Oh,
the urge went away.
I bet it did. Holy cow.
I'm not making that up. That's what I used to do to get rid of that urge, which was terrible. But I
Wow.
haven't had a puff since.
Interesting. Well, since we're talking about health, one of the stories that I read in your re-memoir, Before I Forget, is about this time when you went to the hospital. And I won't tell the story, I'll let you tell the story, but Renee was in tears by the time you're closing the story out because she thought you were gonna die or you're at death's
Right.
door. So you want to
That's it.
talk about what happened there?
Yeah, this goes back many years, Rudy. It's when Renee and I were just starting to do the act together. Excuse me, which we did then for 20 years. But we were just starting because we were just breaking in. This happened up in Monticello, New York, where the area there it's called, or was called, the Borscht Belt.
Hmm.
A lot of very famous, on the East Coast anyway, hotels, vacation sort of hotels, the Concord, Kutcher's, Grossinger's. This happened, and this is where we broke in. The first year we started to do the act together, the Memory Act, which we called the Memory Marvels, or the Marvels of Memory. which I stopped using after a while because at one show, the president of the organization introduced us as the marbles of memory. So I said, I'll roll out, I'll roll on stage, the marbles of memory. Anyway, we were just breaking in. We had a date at Grossinger's Hotel, which is in Liberty, New York, upstate New York. What had happened before I started to drive, I wasn't feeling well. Renee called the doctor right away. She always said, when I didn't feel well, it's hard for me to talk about. She always said, you are too precious to me, Harry, for us not to check this out immediately. And she did. Anyway, a doctor in those days, I'm going back over, God knows, 60 years ago or more, the doctor would come to your house right away. I don't know if you can do that now. Anyway, he said, oh, it must be indigestion, etc. He gave me some pills. And in those days, the show must go on. I had a date to do a show that evening at Grossinger's Hotel. Well, we started to drive. Long story short, as we drove, I started to feel worse. Ended by the time I got to Liberty, New York, where the hotel is located, I had to go to a friend's house. Fortunately, we had friends that lived not too far from the hotel because I couldn't make it to the hotel. And Renee said we needed a doctor right away. And these people, the friends where we were staying, suggested this Dr. Dombek. And that started the whole story because they came, I went to the hospital, or rather to the doctor's office. We didn't go to the hospital. The doctor said, bring him in right away. And they took me to Dr. Dombek's office, which over the decades, I always think of him as Dr. Dumbbell, okay? I mean, I went through a thing. This is why I wrote it up. He and his nurse took my shirt off. They wanted to do a thing. What is it when they check your heartbeat or whatever? Yeah. Well, it's funny. The thing in my mind, I wasn't feeling well. I was only half conscious, for God's sakes. They couldn't get, well, what the heck do you call that thing that they put on that sticks to your chest? The
little stickers or the circle stickers, I don't know what that's called.
The rubber thing, yeah. Well, they couldn't get it to stick. I was about to show you, but I don't think I have to. I'm very hairy on my chest. The thing wouldn't stick. They couldn't get it to stick. So they put glue. They tried it. And like I say, I was only half conscious. And I'm trying to say it. In my mind, I'm saying it, but I guess it wasn't coming out aloud. I was saying, idiots, shave the chest. Get the hair off. Finally, I guess it must have come out because they said, oh, and they shaved where they had to put those damn stickers. That's what started this memory of which is why I started to call this Dr. Dumbbell. For God's sakes, you don't know you have to shave the hair. It's the hair that's keeping it from sticking. Damn it, if I know that, and I don't have a medical degree, for God's sakes. So these are the things I'm thinking when I'm half conscious, for God's sakes. Long story short, again, they finally do the thing. I don't know what they found. We get into a car. I remember them talking. Dr. Dumbbell was saying, should we go to the Sella Hospital or this hospital? They're having a whole conversation. Which hospital? Finally, I get to a hospital. And I'm sort of semi-conscious. That's the beginning of the story where I ended up in the hospital. A couple of days later, I started to feel better. What happened, they put me in an oxygen tent. I remember this. And I was bored out of my skull. And I asked for a deck of cards. Got to remember, this is a long time ago. I wasn't thinking of doing that now. I figured I want to keep my mind occupied. Anyway, I started to do tricks for the nurses through the oxygen tent, So, and like I say, I was feeling fine. So the doctor at the hospital, and I remember his name was Dr. Cohen, he came over, he said, Harry, he had taken x-ray, etc. He said, I can't do anything because you're on the Dr. Dombek's area, but when he gets through with you, I got to tell you, you don't have a heart attack. They thought I had a heart attack, etc. I said, you don't have a heart attack. It's some strong indigestion. You must have eaten something, He said, but we got to wait till Dr. Dombek drops you as a patient, and then we'll talk about it. So I said, fine. And eventually they took the oxygen tent away. And like I say, I was feeling fine. I had a few things happening there. I wanted to call Renee to tell her I was feeling better. I think I wrote about this in the article. I'm not sure. I didn't have a chance to go over it. I picked up the phone. In those days, there were those cell phones and things like that. I picked up the regular phone, and somebody, I guess the operator, a woman, said, "Yeah, how can I help you?" And that kind of attitude. I
Oh,
said, "Well, I want to make a phone call." She said, "I'm busy now." And
oh,
this was at a hospital. Maybe I'm calling the doctor. Maybe I'm dying, you idiot. She hung up on me.
oh my gosh.
Again, a long story. I did something that was kind of stupid. I got out of bed. Remember, I'm in a hospital. I threw all my clothes are in the closet there. I threw all my clothes, pair of shoes, no socks, just stuck my feet in the shoe. And I started to walk. I was going to go out of the hospital to find the phone booth. And I walked by this woman who was sitting there with the thing. I thought she was the operator. She said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to find a phone booth, a phone, because you don't want to give me a line." "Oh, no, you can go. Please have a..." She got all upset that I was going to leave the hospital.
Mm.
It ends up, again, long story short, they told me afterwards, when out of one of the directors of the hospital, a woman came in to apologize and said she was having a big fight with her boyfriend.
Mm.
I said, that's really important. Yeah, well, really important. I may be dying and I'm worried about her having a fight with her boyfriend. So they apologized that way. That's one of the little vignettes that happened during this particular story. And that's now the end of the story. What you brought up is one day, Renee comes running to the hospital. "Oh my God, how's Harry?" Well, what happened is Dr. Dumbell called her at 6 in the morning to say he was called to my room at the hospital because they thought I was dying.
Oh my
It
God.
ends up, it was not me, it was a different patient on a different floor that he
Jeez,
called her about.
it's
That's why I never forgot the story about the city of Dr. Dumbell.
God. That's a horrible thing. Poor
Yeah,
Renee. She must have been beside herself.
of course, she could have had a heart attack, for God's sake, because he calls her and says, hurry, he said to her, because I think your husband is dying.
Oh my gosh. That's
So that that's why I thought it was Dr. Dumbell. Can you believe this? I mean, I always say this as a joke that I could write a book. Of course, I did write it, the book. I mean, think of these silly experiences that I had with. Well, I guess maybe when you live as long as I do, you have these kind of experiences, although I was quite young then. Incidentally, the end of that story is I called the people that I worked for then at the hotel at Grossiger's to apologize. My wife had called them. Renee had called them and said we couldn't make it, blah, blah, blah. And I was very upset that I couldn't make it. And I called to apologize. And they said, "No, no, Harry, thank God you're okay. We just showed a movie." And that's why I think at the end of this article, like I say, I haven't had a chance to check it. I said, I realized at that time that cliche, the show must go on. You got to change it. The show must not go on. They'll show a movie, for God's sakes, when I was supposed to be there. So that's kind of the end of the story.
wow. Wow. So even these days, you're not doing anything in particular to, I mean, do you do a little bit of exercise? You gotta keep active.
Not really. Not really. I'm not. I should. My son keeps yelling at me, "You got to walk." I used to walk. He's only a block or a block and a half away from me. And I used to walk there, but then I don't want to do it at night. And here in this area, it turns dark now here at 4 o'clock or something like that. And I don't want to walk in the dark. And he always says, "Carry a cell phone with you just in case you're going to need help." And it got to the point where he keeps yelling. I live where I am now is my office and my kitchen. And then the flight up is my bedroom. And my son keeps saying, "Yeah, you're okay walking up the stairs." Well, so far, yeah. I mean, I'm careful. I hold on to the banister. But so far, at least I'm kind of functioning. Not the way I used to, obviously. I'm not going to run around the block, but I don't do any exercise. I should.
I remember when I had first got to meet you in person, and you and I walked over to this restaurant, and you were walking at a really brisk pace. I mean, even when I was in Newburyport with you, I mean, you still get around really well.
Yeah, it's gotten worse since that colon cancer operation. That's kind of slowed me down. And I still get this scar. Damn scar still gives me pain and itching and etc. What can I tell you, Rudy?
Getting old
Do
sucks.
the best I can.